Hi everyone, welcome to another video with Project Management Illustrated going through the PMI's 5th edition of the Standards for Program Management. We continue today our journey going through Chapter 3 covering the Program Management Performance Domains. Last video we kicked off our talk about Stakeholder Engagement Performance Domain. Today we pick up the conversation from where we left it. This is me, Ahmed Amer. So let's get this done with. In our previous video, we talked about the purpose of stakeholder engagement performance domain. We also covered the stakeholder environment for programs and who is the champion for change in programs. We talked about stakeholder identification in programs, how a stakeholder register is developed, and what information could be found there. The last video also covered who are key program stakeholders. We ended the video by talking about the second phase of stakeholder engagement performance domain, which is program stakeholder analysis. We went through how the stakeholder analysis is led by identifying the power and interest of the program stakeholders and how we can group all this information into a power interest grid. We continue today with the remaining processes of stakeholder engagement performance domain. These are program stakeholder engagement planning, program stakeholder engagement, and program stakeholder communications. Let's start now with the third process of stakeholder engagement performance domain. Program stakeholder engagement planning is the activity that outlines how all program stakeholders will be engaged throughout the program lifecycle. Please be mindful that any project or program plan indicates the how to execute or perform. In order to fully understand this form of engagement, you as a program manager have to understand the environment in which the program operates. This understanding can be achieved by analyzing the developed artifacts such as stakeholder register and stakeholder map with consideration of the organization's strategic plan, program charter, and program business case. The in-scope analysis has to consider the following aspects: organizational culture and acceptance of change. This refers to the readiness of or ability of individuals or organizations to embrace and adapt to change. It often involves overcoming resistance and aligning with new processes, systems, or behaviors. Attitudes about the program and its sponsors. These are the perceptions, feelings, and opinions held by stakeholders, team members, and other involved parties regarding the program itself and the individuals or groups sponsoring it. These attitudes can significantly impact the success of a program as they influence stakeholder engagement, trust, and collaboration. Relevant phase applicable to stakeholders' specific engagement. Which program phase these stakeholders will be engaged and how does this reflect on them and the program? Expectation of program benefits delivery. This refers to the anticipated outcomes or value that a program is designed to achieve. This concept is central to benefits realization management or BRM, which ensures that programs and projects align with organizational goals and deliver measurable benefits. Feel free to check previous videos on the channel where we covered benefits management performance domain. Degree of support or opposition to the program benefits and ability to influence the outcome of the program. I believe the last 2 points are self-explanatory, as they remind us that not all stakeholders are aligned regarding the program benefits, whether in terms of endorsement or influence. All these efforts lead to the development of the program stakeholder engagement plan. The plan contains elements such as a detailed strategy for stakeholder engagement. This strategy is built based on the existing program situation, which is subject to change as we know. The plan also includes stakeholder engagement guidelines. These guidelines offer valuable insight into how the stakeholders are engaged in various components of the program as a whole. Metrics. The plan defines the metrics used to measure the performance of stakeholder engagement activities. This one makes perfect sense. Two slides back, we said that the plan should give us the how to execute, right? Program manager and team would definitely need metrics to ensure they are on the right track throughout the program lifecycle. The metrics may cover measures of stakeholders' participation. For example, their meeting attendance, who's there and who's not, and other forms of collaboration. The degree of stakeholders' active or passive support or resistance. Metrics can also aim to assess how effectively the engagement achieves its intended objectives. The stakeholder engagement plan should be distributed to the component projects, subsidiary programs, and other program activities. Again, this is the how to, and all program teams should follow the same plan. The stakeholder engagement plan provides program teams with critical information used in the development of program documentation. It helps program teams with their ongoing alignment as stakeholders are added or removed throughout program's life cycle, or generally if information about existing stakeholders is changed. Now, we move into the next process of stakeholder engagement performance domain. This is stakeholder engagement, which I think you would agree with me that it is a continuous program activity. This is simply because the program stakeholders and their corresponding attitudes and opinions keep changing as the program progresses and delivers its planned benefits. The first three processes of stakeholder engagement performance domain, which are identifying stakeholders, mapping their interests, and planning for stakeholder engagement, directly support stakeholder engagement process. This indicates that program artifacts such as the stakeholder register, stakeholder map, and stakeholder engagement plan should be referenced and evaluated quite often and updated whenever required. Stakeholder engagement involves program team interactions with the stakeholders to communicate program benefits and their relevance to the organization's strategic objectives. This is next to the expected utilization of your communication, negotiation, and conflict resolution skills to help diffuse stakeholder opposition to the program and its stated benefits. But do we expect all program stakeholders to be on the same page when it comes to stakeholders' expectations? Definitely not. Program managers may need to set up facilitated negotiation sessions among different stakeholders to bring them together on a mutual ground, especially when it comes to large and or complex programs. Program managers may also share appropriate information contained in the program charter and program business case to help stakeholders establish common and high-level expectations for the delivery of the program's benefits. This activity itself can include a summary of program risks and dependencies. So what can be the used metrics to monitor stakeholder engagement throughout the program life cycle? The primary metrics for stakeholder engagement are positive contributions to the realization of the program's objectives and benefits. Examples of these contributions can be found in the shape of alignment of the program's objectives with broader organizational goals, ensuring relevance and strategic impact. Do you remember when I told you that I will keep repeating this sentence? It's critical to keep the program aligned to the organization strategic objectives at all times. Another example can be stakeholders' support with resources. These resources can be financial, technical, or human resources in order to strengthen program execution. Advocacy can be another good example where stakeholders champion the program's benefits, foster buy-in across teams, and mitigate potential resistance to change. Other forms of positive contributions can be found in risk mitigation and performance evaluation and assessment, where stakeholders help program teams to mitigate identified risks and share information on program execution to assist with bringing programs back on track in case they were not. The second metric here is stakeholder participation. Regular stakeholders' participation in discussions, feedback loops, and decision making processes enhance program effectiveness and adaptability. This metric requires you as a program manager to spend an extra effort logging stakeholders' interactions, including meeting invitations, attendance, meeting minutes, and action items. Personally, I have worked before in a program doing exactly this. The principle is reviewing these records regularly to identify potential risks caused by a lack of participation. It's also important to identify the causes behind the lack of participation, as one size doesn't fit all. A stakeholder has not been actively participating can be a stakeholder confidence in the program's direction, or possibly has inaccurate expectations, or might have lost their entire interest in the program. This type of analysis and root cause identification avoids incorrect assumptions about stakeholder behavior that could lead to unforeseen issues or poor program management decisions in general. The third metric we have here is the frequency or rate of communication with the program team. This one can extend to include logging stakeholder issues and concerns, managing them from inception to closure. Why is logging important here? Because it gives program teams the opportunity to document the raised issues and concerns and track them throughout the program lifecycle. It also creates a space to discuss the prioritization of these concerns and helps program teams to go through any feedback received from stakeholders. Please be mindful that the logged stakeholders' issues and concerns may impact several elements of your program, such as its scope, costs, schedule, risks, priorities, benefits, and outcomes. Accordingly, you may need to perform an impact analysis. Impact analysis should help you understand the urgency and probability of the reported issues and determine which ones could potentially become program risks. PMI fully understands that this situation doesn't necessarily apply to small organizations where a simple spreadsheet could do the job. However, for programs with complex risks and issues affecting large numbers of stakeholders, a more sophisticated tracking and established prioritization mechanism may be required. Now we move to program stakeholder communications, the last process of the stakeholder engagement performance domain. Good program communication helps connect stakeholders who have different backgrounds, experiences, and opinions. These differences can affect how a program succeeds and delivers benefits. Clear communication is essential for working with the stakeholders, carrying out program tasks, and achieving goals. Clear communication allows team members to share information, negotiate, and collaborate, making sure the program runs well. The program manager and team should stay connected with the stakeholders throughout the program, especially those who have a lot of power and influence. Program managers can plan for each stakeholder, outlining how to communicate with them, including the type of information, language, format, and level of detail needed. Do you remember this plan we talked about in our last video? As you can see, the plan should list stakeholders' level of interest, power and influence, preferred communication method, and the frequency of getting these comms. The plan can also include ways to gather feedback on program updates and manage escalations. The end objective is to gain stakeholders' support and successfully deliver the program's benefits. Building and maintaining strong relationships among varied stakeholders is critical to a successful program and often the difference between business success and failure. Thus, program managers should practice effective planning and communications and actively encourage the acceptance of stakeholders' diverse points of view, reflecting their unique knowledge, perspectives, and confidence. Some stakeholder communication naturally or even unexpectedly occurs during program activities, which we will cover in the coming videos talking about program activities. The program manager should regularly record and store all important program communications. This is one of the program manager's continuous activities. Program managers should ensure that stakeholders' communication needs always met in a fostering program environment. Some stakeholders may ask questions about the program for different reasons. These questions and answers should be recorded and shared so other stakeholders can also benefit. Just be mindful that some of the information may need to be presented in different ways for different stakeholders. Decision makers must get the right information at the right time to make the right decisions and keep the program moving forward. The program manager should continually monitor changes and update stakeholder engagement activities and deliverables as needed. Some of you may raise their hands now out of confusion. What is the difference between program stakeholder engagement and program stakeholder communications? They sound like the same thing, right? Actually, no, they are different. The distinction between program stakeholder engagement and program stakeholder communications lies in their scope and intent. Program stakeholder engagement focuses on actively involving stakeholders in the program's life cycle. It includes identifying stakeholders, understanding their interests, managing expectations, and fostering collaboration to ensure alignment with program objectives. This is a strategic, ongoing process aimed at maintaining stakeholder commitment and addressing concerns proactively. Program stakeholder communication, on the other hand, is more about the structured exchange of information. It involves developing communication plans, selecting appropriate channels, and ensuring stakeholders receive timely and relevant updates about the program's progress, risks, and decisions. While engagement is about interaction and relationship building, communication is about delivering information effectively. Of course, both are essential for successful program management, but engagement is about influence and participation, whereas communication is about clarity and dissemination. Let's see now how stakeholder engagement interacts with different program management principles and performance domains. But before doing that, let me tell you that an important aspect of the stakeholder engagement performance domain is helping program and project managers align stakeholder expectations, program risks and benefits, and organizational strategy while adapting to changes or complexities. This alignment enables efficient oversight of the program framework, functions, and processes in order to meet strategic and operational goals. The stakeholder engagement performance domain connects with the stakeholders' synergy, leadership, risk, and governance program management principles. In addition, in addition to the benefits management, collaboration, governance framework, stakeholder engagement, and strategic alignment performance domains. Stakeholder engagement connects closely with 5 of the 8 program management principles, as well as all other performance domains. This strong connection is expected, given how much stakeholder engagement influences program success. This takes us to the end of the third performance domain of program management. Let's recap what we talked about in this video and the previous one. We went through the 5 processes of the stakeholder engagement performance domain. These are stakeholder identification, stakeholder analysis, stakeholder engagement planning, stakeholder engagement, and finally, stakeholder communications. We talked about several program artifacts such as stakeholder register, stakeholder map, power interest grid, prioritized list of stakeholders, and stakeholder communication plan. I know that this performance domain can be taken for granted by some program managers who plan to sit for PMI's PgMP exam. If you plan to sit for the exam, please do not do this. According to the latest exam handbook, which I think will be updated soon, this performance domain covers 16% of the total number of the exam questions. Unfortunately, I saw several program managers fail their test because of failing this performance domain. Please make sure you clearly understand this performance domain concepts and processes. Feel free to drop me a question in the comments under the video or direct message me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn profile is on the channel description. By this, we have covered half of the 6 program management performance domains. Great progress. That's definitely worth celebrating. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that button. And if you have any questions or thoughts, drop them in the comments and I will do my best to respond to everyone. Bye for now.